Hello everyone, welcome to our webinar with Productboard. I would also like to welcome Tomáš Růžička and Tomáš Fedor from Productboard. With guys, we'll be discussing today why they decided to move to AWS, what technologies are they implementing, and how is their journey so far. I'm Marek, head of product and marketing at Revolgy. Our aim at Revolgy is to help companies to use the cloud better. And we find the Productboard story particularly interesting, and that's why we asked them to share it with us today. I would also like to point out that unfortunately we had to pre-record the webinar, but please feel free to ask us questions anyway. We will come back to them within the next 24 hours, and we will send you the answers. So coming back to the topic of our webinar. Guys, can you introduce yourself and tell us what do you do at Productboard?
Yeah, sure. So hi, I'm Thomas, and I've been working at Productboard for about 4 years now, since the very first Heroku hobby dyno up until the current AWS migration. I've changed my focus quite a lot as our company was scaling. We're about 40 engineers at the moment. So I'm focusing mainly on stuff that contributes to engineering efficiency, such as developer tooling, documentation, onboarding, and of course, helping our infra team with the migration itself.
Oh, hi, my name is also Thomas, and I'm pretty new in Productboard. I joined the company 6 months ago, and my current position is infrastructure leader. And our main goal is to migrate from Heroku to AWS.
Okay, thank you for the introduction. What is actually the mission of Productboard? What is the aim of your company?
Sure. So just to kind of explain it in plain terms, have you ever found yourself, building a feature that nobody used at the end? This is pretty much a job of your product manager. And it's Productboard's mission to help these product managers. Before Productboard, product managers had to resort to like big messy spreadsheets and like messaging tools to manage their feedback and prioritization efforts. So Productboard is the product management platform that helps product managers understand what users need, prioritize what to build, and really everyone around their roadmap. With Productboard, product teams can consolidate user inputs from a variety of sources and define clear strategic objectives to prioritize with confidence.
Okay, thank you for the introduction. So let us start at the beginning with your migration. What was your original infrastructure? What are you migrating from?
Sure. So as I mentioned a bit, we are heavily relying on Heroku since the first day. So it was a pretty standard Heroku, installation. We were using, or are still using, Heroku Postgres with lots of the built-in features like high availability, backups, forking for Heroku apps, and also read-only replica for specific features of the product. We're also using Heroku Redis for deployment of our front end, for sessions, for job queues, and also for caching. We also using quite a few third-party tools that integrate with Heroku, including Papertrail, where we manage our logs, Scout, where we manage our application metrics, Pusher, which we use for WebSockets, and Screen for app level web application firewall, actually, since you cannot really handle or like restrict the traffic inside of Heroku. And later we also started implementing auto-scaling using Highfire, which helped us a lot.
Okay, so then why did you decide to move to AWS?
Yeah, sure. So as our engineering is getting bigger, we need to start thinking a bit more long-term about both our organizational and infrastructure scaling. It is starting to be clear that our initial monolithic approach worked very well at the beginning, but it gets a little bit in the way when you have multiple people touching very close parts of the code base, which pretty much kind of restricts your development efficiency. It also makes it a bit challenging to actually scale features independently from each other. For example, you might have special requirements for different kinds of inbound traffic, like webhooks, versus requests from our web application. Another reason is we are deeply passionate about developer experience, so we wanted to have a bit more control, around the tooling and about the workflow itself. And lastly, there were also some security reasons like compliance and other business requirements, for example, like private clouds, that made us consider switching as well.
Okay, thank you. Just a reminder to our audience. I would like to remind you that you can ask us questions. Also, this webinar is pre-recorded. We will come back to your questions within next 24 hours and send you the answers. But coming back to you guys, so that was the reason why you decided to move to AWS. But what technologies are you implementing, and why are you implementing them?
Yeah, so as Tomáš mentioned, many technologies which we are using right now on Heroku, we needed to first find right services on AWS. And so far we use RDS, mainly PostgreSQL, as we use it on Heroku. Then for management of certificates, we use ACM. Then there is a nice replacement of Redis is Elasticache. And the rest is pretty normal, like EC2, S3, DynamoDB, Route 53. So those are the services which we use there. Apart from that, we are trying to run our monolithic core in Kubernetes. So far, we are pretty successful, and we like that approach because it brings us possibility to build new features faster, develop them faster, and also release being faster. And mostly use basic components such as pods, deployments, jobs. And what is nice or good component is that we use Ingress Traffic, which is not common. So that's what we like. And what we are trying to implement later is to have separate HashiCorp Vault clusters to use for secrets. So that's what we are trying to implement now, and we are really looking forward to use it on production later. And all in all, as we are migrating to AWS and infrastructure team is growing fast, and also developer would like to see how everything is working and how everything is implemented, we have decided to use infrastructure as code principle, which allows us to share knowledge easily, not just clicking somewhere manually and then looking what happened and what implemented what. And we started first with the IAM roles and the users to have like better control, not giving everybody administrator access, but have possibility to give those people like developer or read-only view or giving access only to certain services. So that's all.
Okay, that's quite a complex setup. How do you tackle it? Can you describe more your process of migration?
Yeah, sure. First, we needed to decide how we are organize our organization in AWS, and we have decided to split it into 3 main accounts, which is like production, staging, and ops. And like staging and productions are pretty simple, but ops is mostly used for infrastructure purposes. Then we implemented proper IAM, as I was speaking about it in previous question. And then we run Kubernetes cluster in each account, so we have a better control what is running where. And also we run in all the Kubernetes clusters our main infra services, such as its Grafana, Prometheus, AWS IAM Authenticator, Datadog. Then, with migration to AWS, come up question what CI tool we are going to use, as Heroku offers pretty nice solution for PR apps. And we use currently CI, Circle CI, but it doesn't offer us any PR apps, so we needed to find something else. And GitLab has pretty nice solution and also offer much more than CI. Is also a contributing tool, and it has better Kubernetes support. And guys from GitLab nicely work and trying to improve security. So that was for us pretty right solution. And the rest is database migration. Right now it's staging only, but we considered zero time. So far we found out some restrictions, but we have decided to do it with planned maintenance, which should take around like 30 minutes. And we are going to spin up our new database in the same data center as it's running on Heroku. Then we are going to use high-level compression, and we are going to have kind of nice preparation with only a few minutes downtime. And we are going just to run pgdump and push data to new database, then try to make read-only database on Heroku, try to run some queries on our new database and see if it's working, and then we can switch it. That's all.
Yeah, that was pretty much for the infra part, but on the application layer, we also had to do quite a bit of steps. So actually, before we even started, this whole Kubernetes thing, we actually even already had a running pretty much a proof of concept service in production, where we kind of explored the different like pieces that we need so that the microservice works together very well with the monolith that we have. Yeah, and then we moved actually to start working on the monolith itself, where the first obvious thing was basically removing any Heroku dependencies. So we had to kind of go through the list of all the gems that might be just built on top of Heroku, or actually finding alternatives of some Heroku add-ons in the AWS ecosystem. Yeah, that's pretty much it. We also had a few kind of Heroku specific pieces of code that we basically just feature flagged so that we could run both of the application both on AWS and Heroku during the transition time. And obviously, since we weren't running in any Docker in production yet, we had to, of course, Dockerize the application. So, your usual Docker file and Docker images. During that, we had to figure, all these environment settings, basically database connections and all these kinds of things. And then kind of moving closer to the infra part, we decided to use Helm charts. So, we had to basically configure the Helm chart based on the metrics that we've seen in Heroku. So this is where actually we kind of communicate very frequently with the infra team, about the limits, thresholds, and what should be the memory settings and stuff like that. Yeah, and then we talked about the deployment process itself, because in Heroku, lots of it comes a bit already built in. So, for example, the Heroku Ruby build pack gives you like automatic, migrations and kind of asset pre-compiling and all these things. So we kind of had to find a counterpart in the new setup. So, we were discussing how to do that, and basically decided that we're going to go with a kind of a combination of CI, so GitLab CI steps, and a init container. Yeah, and based on that, we kind of figured what is the optimal setup to run migrations and how to actually do zero downtime upgrades of all the pods that we will be running. Yeah, so once we figured all these things out, we just ran the image on the cluster, and we were monitoring what was breaking down, and like we were fixing the issues along the way. And when we were kind of confident with what we have on staging, we also ran a bunch of stress testing tests, on it, kind of do some kind of performance benchmark to see what are the thresholds, how does it compare to the Heroku version and stuff like that. Yeah. And so far I've been talking about backend, right? But there's also a front-end part of our application, but that's really just a simple switch of a CDN, right? So from the perspective of the front-end application, not that much actually needs to change because it's pretty much transparent from that perspective. Yeah, and then basically once we had this all figured out, now we're thinking about how to actually split the monolith in all kinds of different ways. So this is where the exciting stuff is going to happen. Like how to tackle this. What is the right context, bounding context for all the different features. What pods, and that this is going to be the exciting part. Yeah. So in summary, we started to migrate our core service at the very beginning. Right now we're on staging, and we are, something like end of July. We're counting on production. We will see how it goes. You know how it is about deadlines. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I understand. Okay. When you spoke about the process, was there actually anything during the process that surprised you that you didn't expect during the migration?
Yeah. So actually, since nobody on board was really has ever really kind of migrated a large scale application running on production to AWS, we didn't know really like all the different details that you might run into during that migration. And one of the things was that actually Heroku is of course like defending their customers, right? And they don't want you to like leave their platform. So that's why, for example, the Postgres cannot be easily replicated, with zero downtime, or we actually needed to expose our Redis instance inside of AWS publicly temporarily, so that we could, use our current staging application at Heroku, but have the data already migrated in AWS, which is also something that you don't really want to have in production, right? Like publicly exposed databases.
Okay, thank you. Thank you guys for so much information, for the inspiring discussion. So to wrap this whole process up, at the beginning you've been speaking about the product board mission. How do you expect AWS to actually help you deliver it?
For us, it's mostly that it allows us to build everything fast. It's easy, scalable solution supporting the growing of our company. We are really growing fast. Then we also needed to compare price with our solution pass, and we see that with growing infrastructure, growing the company, it's cheaper for us to run everything in AWS than with current PaaS solution. And then as we grow, we also are going to get more and more enterprise customer, and they also have some specific needs, like private cloud, separate databases, some security certifications. And this allows us, with AWS, it allows us to have those customers. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's actually everything from my side. So guys, thank you very much for your answers, for all the information that you provided. And also thanks to our audience that you stayed with us and that you watched our webinar. If you have any further questions that you would like to ask, please write to email address learn@revolgy.com. And as I mentioned, this webinar is unfortunately pre-recorded, but we will come back to your questions within next 24 hours and send you back the answers. Also, please don't forget to follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. On each of these networks, we are as Revolgy. And if you are interested in more learning materials about cloud and DevOps, please join our monthly newsletter. So thanks again for joining us. Thank you guys for sharing the information with us. And this is it. See you at the next webinar.
See you. Thanks.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.